Good afternoon, everybody. It is Thursday, which means it is time for MFSN's weekly fantasy football strategy show. I'll be hosting today. Dr. Dan, as usual, is off saving the world one chronic pain injury at a time. My name is Casey Scheinvold, by the way, and I'm joined by my best colleague, one of the greatest in the business, a betting shark. You name it, he can do it. It's Ross the Boss. Ross, how are you on Thursday?
Hey everybody, Ross the Boss here on a Thursday, NFL Thursday. We got a great game happening in Cleveland, actually where Dan is coming from, but he's not here. It's raining, it's windy, it's stormy in Cleveland, so expect a low-scoring game, Casey Scheinvold.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how great of a game it'll be, but it could be pretty low scoring. I don't see Cleveland getting more than a touchdown or a touchdown and a field goal. They can't run the ball, and Pittsburgh's defense is pretty legit, and it's going to be wet and rainy. So,
yep, and winds, Casey, winds. Winds is the most important thing when you talk football. If the wind gusts are like 40 miles per hour and you have a quarterback that throws a lot of interceptions, you're in trouble.
Yeah, Jameis Winston's going to air it out no matter what, though. But can you blame him? Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford have been awful.
How dare you?
Tommy V, welcome. We love having you every Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you for the love. It's going to be an interesting week. There's 6 teams on bye this week. Is that correct?
6 teams. We talked about on Tuesday. The Bengals, there's a lot of good fantasy players not playing this week. So that's the reason we told our fantasy watchers on Tuesday to make sure you pick up players this week, because I guarantee you have 2 or 3 players not playing this week. Guarantee it.
Yeah. And some other CeeDee Lamb didn't practice today. Devonta Smith missed practice again today. So there's also some big names who are suddenly scary because they're dealing with some injuries. What do you think, to you, what is the game you're looking most forward to this weekend?
I mean, this weekend, I'm just trying to think like because the Bengals aren't playing, I'm devastated. Let me look real quick. I have not.
Well, you got. I'll give you some big ones, and you tell me what you think. How's
okay,
that?
I have it right here. I'll tell you who I like. Are you ready?
Yeah.
My favorite game of the week would be funny if I said Kansas City, Carolina. Wouldn't it be great? I mean, the game I would say is probably the most exciting game, even though the Niners are not playing good football, is the San Francisco's in Green Bay.
Yep.
And McFleur is really a great coach. Shanahan's not. And I think the Niners are going one way and Green Bay's going the other. So I like that game. It's a must game for the Niners. If they want to win that division, they have to win this week. If they don't win, they're in deep trouble. So that's like my favorite. There's really Detroit, the Colts? No.
I actually like that game.
Tell me why you like Detroit and the Colts, which is a very uneven game, but tell me why.
Well, I think part of the reason for me is, Detroit to me is kind of like the greatest show on turf. Rams circa 2000, 2001, when it was
right.
Marshawn Faulk and Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and all of them with
memory.
Kurt
I
Warner.
like that. Yeah.
So they're a lot of fun to watch. And I want to see if Anthony Richardson can do it again. As much as he's only had one good game, and it was last week where he threw for over 270 yards and a touchdown and ran 2 more in. Like, he's that X factor. I just want to see what he can do in a day in and day out. So I don't know if it's like the best game of the weekend. I don't think so, but it's certainly going to be a fun one.
And another game that's a big rivalry back in the day when the Commanders were called the Redskins, but they're not called the Redskins anymore. I know that. So send your letters to Dr. Dan Ratner, not to Ross the Boss. Is the Cowboys are playing the Commanders in Washington at the Dump, we call it, because the stadium's horrible. And I feel Daniels is going to just blow up. I think he'll just have like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he's going to have a huge game against that horrible Dallas defense. It's going to be, it could be like a slaughter. It really could be. I mean, the Cowboys season, I would say, if you told me Lamb's not practicing today, Casey Scheinfold.
He did not make it. He was not at practice.
I mean, I without CeeDee Lamb, I think the Cowboys with no running game and with their second tier receivers aren't their greatest. Talbert and the other guy. I mean, Ferguson and all those guys. They're not having
Brandon
a good
Cooks
year.
was back at practice though, so maybe that'll help him.
Yeah, he's not going to win any championships, but it should be a good game. I'm excited to see Daniels smash the Dallas Cowboys.
So you're not putting the Bucks and Giants in those exciting games to watch?
The thing about this is, and this is common in NFL football. Even the quarterback that wins the game by the most points usually doesn't have the most yards passing. Okay. So you want to get the quarterback that's behind in the game and that has to catch up and throw touchdowns to start winning the game.
So are you telling me to start Tommy DeVito?
Well, I picked him up in our league. I think you saw that. Yeah.
No.
I mean, I have a feeling I feel he's going to win the game Sunday. He's going to be the talk of the town again. Every Italian mother is going to say, Tommy DeVito, you're the greatest. They're all going to invite him to the house for Italian dinner and blah, blah, blah. But I feel the Giants are going to win that game. I really do. I think.
God, I hope not. I'm finally getting excited that they're going to have a draft pick to replace their quarterback next year. And right now, if the season ended today, they'd have the 3rd overall pick, which would pretty much guarantee them a quarterback.
I want the job that Daniel Jones has. He's making $40 million
to sit the bench. I know.
And he just rides. I mean, he does nothing. He walks around with a clipboard. He makes $40 million a year. And they're not doing that because they're mad. They're doing it to save money. It's a money thing. And there's a reason why Drew Lock's not playing, because there's $1 million worth of incentives there for him, and they're not letting him opportunity to do it. So, Casey, you should be embarrassed as a Giants fan that your team is downgrading the game. So all these little kids that go to Giants games can just expect the worst. But I think Tommy DeVito will win Sunday.
Yep.
You have no confidence. You have no confidence.
No, I'm actually pretty convinced he's going to win because I don't want him to. So I have a question for you. I have my own start sit question for you.
Oh, great.
All right. Good afternoon, Albert Mariquin. And it's a good start sit decision to have to deal with. But in one of the leagues I'm in, I have to start either Kyler Murray against Seattle, and Kyler Murray
first place Arizona Cardinals. Go on.
And he's been playing at an MVP level for the last however many weeks, or Bo Nix at Las Vegas. I never thought that would be an either or question, but Bo Nix is like QB4, I think, this week. He had one
300. Let me just rewind. He had one 300-yard game. Okay. Everybody's like jumping on the bandwagon. Bo Nix, rookie of the year, blah, blah, blah. I'm
Bo
just reminding you.
Since week 5 has 4 20-point games. Only Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts.
I said that last week that he had a 3-game 20-point. I'm on top of that. I'm just saying that they're trying to compare him to Daniels, and he's not in the same league as Jaden Daniels right now. I would take Daniels in a second. I like Bo Nix. Bo Nix is in Vegas. I feel Vegas is going to win that game. How about that? I'll take the 5.5 points.
But that that actually makes Bo Nix more attractive because they won't just be handing it to Javonte Williams.
And then who is Seattle?
Kyler Murray against Seattle.
And the game is where?
The game is at Seattle.
Okay, I would take Bo Nix just because it's indoors. Seattle's weather is horrible in November. It's raining. They're not used to the rain or cold in Arizona because they play in a dome. And I would have, much as I love to say it, I love having I would start Bo Nix. I think Kyler Murray is going to have an average game. I don't think he's going to be like unbelievable. I think I think Connor's going to be running the ball. And I see that game low scoring. How about that, Casey Scheinfeld? I see Bo Nix. He'll be throwing the ball and he'll be coming back from behind. That's going to be a high scoring game in Las Vegas.
That definitely.
But I'm not sold on Denver. I think they're a little fraudulent. I think they're a fraud. I don't think they're as good as people think. But there you go. Bo Nix, start him.
Okay, so you say Bo Nix. I'm going to go with that.
Love it.
Who are our cover? I put on the cover today, Juwan Jennings, because
I saw that
he's been whenever he's been given an opportunity to get regular targets, he's produced for the 49ers. If you remember, he had the 3 touchdown game when Deebo Samuel was hurt back against Minnesota in one of the about probably 7-8 weeks ago. And since Brandon Ayuk has gotten hurt, he's been a top 10 wide receiver and averaging almost 10 targets or more per game. Who are some other players? I guess my question is this. Do you think it's real? Do you think he's a legitimate wide receiver moving forward? Or do you think
I think with that Ayuk there, he's gone for the season. I think he's the new number 1 receiver for Brock Montana. I mean, I really do. I don't see I watched the Niners games and they don't look for Deebo at all. I mean, they really don't. And they look for Jennings as their first look, and he gets the targets, as you just said, and he gets the ball. And McCaffrey is not having a great year, right? He hasn't started off great, but I think he'll be good by week 13 or 14. So there you go.
Yeah, but will they be in the playoff hunt by week 13?
I don't know. And I don't know if they even play him if they're out of it. So I don't know what you do with McCaffrey. I think if they're out of the playoffs, why even risk any injury with that guy? He's like a walking, he's made out of glass. The guy can get hurt any minute. So I would bench him the rest of the season if you're done if they're not going to be in the playoffs.
Albert Marquin is feeling my pain. Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. He needs to pick 2. For me, I'm just going to tell you, I think it's Bo Nix and Kyler Murray. I love Baker Mayfield, and the Giants are certainly a soft enough pass defense, but I could see the game script making it a Bucky Irving, Rachaad White type of game, because I don't know how many points, if any points, the Giants are going to score. So to me, it's a game script. It's definitely Bo Nix. Seattle does not pressure the quarterback well, does not make the quarterback all that uncomfortable. So Kyler Murray will have plenty of time. But Ross is right. If I would base Kyler versus Baker on the weather in New York and Seattle, right? If it's bad weather in Seattle, but it's going to be okay in New York, I might go with Baker Mayfield if and vice versa. Like right here on the East Coast right now, Albert, I don't know where you live. I live in Pennsylvania, about a couple hours away from MetLife Stadium, or the Meadowlands, I still call it. But and it's raining and cold,
I call it,
and windy. And if that's going to be the weather, that's going to stink.
I'm the opposite. I'm taking Baker. Evans is back. He's healthy. He's off the injury report. I like Baker. I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield. The guy would just do anything to win. He chucks the ball. I mean, he really does, and he's a winner. Murray, I feel as soon as that cold weather hits him and he's out there running around and he feels, oh my God, I'm getting hit with this cold weather, he'll slow down and he'll be handing the ball off.
I have an interesting theory for you, Albert. I don't know. I'd have to look, but I might, if your trade deadline hasn't passed yet, I might try to trade one of those 3 in a super flex. One of those quarterbacks, any one of them, has tremendous value. And if you could go to somebody who has one of their quarterbacks on bye, or is stuck with Aaron Rodgers, or is stuck with Daniel Jones, who's been benched, I might see if I could upgrade a wide receiver or running back position going into the playoff stretch and just keep 2 of those 3, because you have 3 of the top probably 7 or 8 quarterbacks for the rest of the season. Man, I would be tempted to try to explore a trade with one of those 3, maybe get a lower end quarterback back in case you get stuck. I don't know, trying to think off the back of my head. I don't, maybe a Will Levis back or something like that, and an upgraded wide receiver, a top 20 wide receiver or top 15 running back who could really bolster your other positions going into the playoff run, because those 3 quarterbacks, you're going to be wasting one of them in the playoffs, and that sucks.
Yeah, it's always good. It's good safety valve for the playoffs too. One of them get hurt.
I'm also of the belief I don't want to have those 3 quarterbacks that I have to choose from every week, because there's a good chance you're going to choose wrong. And then you're going to hate yourself. Like, why didn't I play Kyler Murray, or why didn't I play Bo Nix? If you only have the 2 you put in and you're good with it. And you don't have that regret. Whereas you can get somebody, a consistent volume wide receiver like a Juwan Jennings in a trade, or Cortland Sutton. Maybe you go try to get
Cooper
Cortland
Kupp.
Sutton. Yeah, but Cortland Sutton you could stack with Bo Nix or something like that. and see if you can upgrade that position, or whether it be
And
running
even
back.
if you
wide
don't trade,
receiver,
it's still a good safety valve to have. I mean, God forbid if Knicks or Murray get hurt, at least you have
yeah,
some
don't
type
get
of
me wrong.
safety
It's a
valve.
good problem to have, but I would probably be in that market for trying to
Yeah,
trade.
because weird things happen in December with quarterbacks. A lot of injuries, people sit. It's just a lot of weird stuff you'll see go on in the next few weeks.
So I don't know if I told you this, Ross, but I don't know if you saw this, but in our dynasty league,
Yeah.
I realized I was not going to be competing for a championship this year or even next year necessarily. I had some decent players, but I had a lot of injuries. And I also just had some players who didn't pan out. And so I pretty much gutted my team.
Right.
And I'm really excited now about next year because 3 first-round picks next year. I turned my quarterback situation. I had Tua, I had Daniel Jones, and I had Bryce Young. Nothing that you were really excited about. I managed to turn those into Anthony Richardson and Drake May. So I feel really good in the dynasty format with young
I like those deals
players.
you've been doing. Yeah.
My wide receivers, I have Jamison Williams, Puka Nacua, and Cortland Sutton. I managed to keep those 3 and
Those are good.
still get the draft picks. Trey McBride and Kyle Pitts at the tight end. And then my running backs.
I would waive Kyle Pitts in spite, but that's me.
I tried to trade him for Tyrone Tracy this week, but the owner wouldn't bite.
No, I mean, Pitts has no value. I mean, what are you doing?
But where I traded, the players I traded were Tua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenneth Walker III. So I traded some really good players. My running backs are really, really thin. I just have Isaiah Pacheco going into next year.
Right.
But now is the time if you're in a dynasty league. I think you have to look at the future and discern if you can compete this year, go all in. If you can't, sometimes you got to trade some really good players to build for the future. Ross, who are some? We talked about quarterbacks. Obviously we both like Bo Nix and Kyler Murray this week. I'm sure we both like Justin Herbert going against Baltimore. The one I'm mixed on, and it's a game I'm actually really excited about, and I wanted to hear your input. The Philadelphia Eagles are visiting the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football. So it's in LA.
It's SoFi. Yep. It's in LA.
So Matthew Stafford, I'm mixed on. He had a great week last week. He's been a really good volume passer, but the Eagles defense hasn't given up multiple touchdown passes in a game since week 4. I don't think people realize how good that Eagles pass defense is. What do you do if you're a Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford owner?
Well, you got to start Puka and Kupp. Kupp's, to me, is the better of the two.
Yeah.
And you got to start both of them.
He's the more reliable of the two.
I think that game's going to be high scoring. I think the Eagles are going to beat the Rams, even though the Rams look good at times. I just think the Eagles look a lot better right now. They're on all cylinders, and their defense, like you said, is playing good football. The Rams defense is average at best, and Stafford, any pass rush at all, he gets sacked. I mean, he can't move. I mean, the guy just stands there and chucks it, but I know he has 2 great weapons, and then Williams, the running back, that guy's a beast too. I mean, he gets over 80 yards almost every game.
I live in Pennsylvania. I live about an hour and 45 minutes outside of Philly, so I get inundated with Philadelphia. Every game is on the local Fox network and all that stuff. There has been nobody who has impressed me more than Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, the defensive tackles.
I thought you were going to say Saquon Barkley. I thought you were going to say Saquon Barkley.
I'm talking about on defense.
I know. I thought that's where you were going. I did not expect you to mention defensive player from the Eagles, but I get it.
I mean, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are just impossible to run against. Like just watching them blow up plays in the backfield all the time.
No,
Like
I'm telling you,
they'll
the Eagles
bully a guard and center at the same time and just push them into the quarterback so that
Eagles defense looks great. I mean, that game is we'll see a lot of yards. I mean, we'll see some passing yards. I think Williams has his hands full. The Rams line is hurt. I mean,
is a
they've been
mess.
moving people around.
Yeah, I think
So
Kyren
that's what I'm trying
Williams,
to
if
tell
he's
you,
going
is
to
that
have,
they're not 100%. So they're going to have major problems protecting Stafford. I mean, they really will.
if he's going to have any value, it's going to be in the air. Kyren
And your boy
Williams.
Barkley,
Oh, don't remind me.
Him and Henry are the two MVP. I would probably pick. Who do I pick between those two? I'd probably pick Henry as the MVP. I don't know. It's a coin flip. Whoever has the better season starting now between the two. I mean, they're so close together.
I know,
I mean,
and they're both on great offenses. So you can't even say about one of them, well, Derrick Henry benefits because he has Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers and all those tight ends. You can say, well, there's Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown and Devonta Smith and all that stuff. And they're just such well-built teams. I don't know how they keep all those guys and stay under a salary cap, but that's why I'm not a GM of an NFL team. And
well, you will be someday, Casey. Trust me. I mean, the marquee game. You asked me what game I'm excited about, and I think it's Monday night. I think it's the brothers game, we call it. It's the
Ravens Chargers. It's LA is having the games this week, and they have Sunday night and then Monday night.
Yeah. LA, which I hate SoFi. We'll talk about that later. I hate that stadium.
You've been to SoFi?
Oh yeah, and it's $100 to park. Food is very expensive, not very good. And
have you been to Vegas yet?
No, but somebody sent me a bill that they paid for pizza and chicken tenders. Pizza, I'm not making this up, and I'll show you I can text it to you. The pizza for pepperoni pizza, look good, $300.
Like a full pizza? A whole
pizza, $300. Chicken tenders, $190. And it's just like who's
how can anybody take what normal family can go see a game anymore?
Casey, it's so expensive. I do want to go, but it's just to watch the Raiders play. You're really paying that kind of money to watch. I mean, I'm sure most of the people that go to Raider games are rooting for the team that's coming in from wherever,
right? Or just
SoFi
shootout.
SoFi, when you go to the stadium, you walk in and you're on like the fourth deck. So to get to your seats, you got to go down there's no elevator. You got to go down these ramps. Okay. So you're walking. It's about a half mile. I'm not joking, of ramps. Okay. You finally get down there, you get to your seats. And then all of a sudden, when the game's over, the only way to get out is to walk up the ramps after a game. And you're walking with a million people around you. It's horrible. I mean, it's not a great place to watch a game. It really
makes you wonder what architect designed that.
I don't know. And there's no air conditioning either, but yeah.
There really isn't?
No.
Wow.
No AC.
My goodness.
No, it's horrible. For the money you pay.
So what's your favorite stadium?
I enjoyed, not because I'm a Bengals fan, but I'll just tell you why I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going to where the Bengals play, Brown Stadium, and it's a good seat is $150. I was 30-yard line, 20 rows up. Great seats, fun game, food is good. Skyline Chili's cooking. Skyline Chili, and the crowd is like, they're singing, it's like being in a college game, and everybody's so friendly, and it's a fun atmosphere. You feel you're at a college game. It's not a bunch of drunks running around like you see on some other teams. So I enjoy that. I've been to Pittsburgh. I enjoy watching a Steeler game there. The fans there are crazy, but the stadium's beautiful. I also been to Miami. That was okay. I wasn't a huge fan. I've been to Arizona. I like Glendale. I actually went to a Super Bowl there, and I enjoyed that. Stadium's nice, and it's not that expensive to go to games either. I've been to the 49ers where they play. That's a fun stadium. I have nothing bad to say. A lot of people are diehard fans, and they all get into the game. It's fun. I've been to an Oakland Raider game in Oakland. That was horrible. Almost got killed. But there's a lot of good stadiums, but SoFi is just. I don't recommend it. It's very expensive. Just all the money you spend to go. I mean, to go to a Raider game is very expensive too. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the family of four that wants to see a football game. It's tough.
Yeah, I don't understand how anybody can afford sporting events.
Well, football's remember there's only 8 games a year, and
I know.
if you go to one game and you save up the whole year, I get it, but it's just even baseball games. Remember they were cheap; they're not cheap anymore either.
So do you think your Bengals can make the playoffs?
No, people are saying they have a chance. No, they're ducks in the water. They have an easy schedule. I looked at it. And they play some. The only tough games they have left is basically Pittsburgh twice. But no, they're playing. They're losing games they should win. I mean, all of a sudden
their defense has been terrible.
I sent you the text. I mean, you saw who's the number 1 rated.
Yeah, I told you Joe Burrow last week. I told you that on Tuesday.
He has MVP numbers. But he's not going to win the MVP.
Ja'Marr Chase should be in the MVP discussion.
Ja'Marr Chase is the triple crown: yards, touchdowns, and
receptions.
And receptions. I mean, he's like a beast.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, but there's no talk of him at MVP.
No, I think there should be.
But I think Chase. How about this prediction? I say, out of these 3, who's going to be the number 1 pick in fantasy football next year?
Ja'Marr Chase,
Barkley. Henry, old Henry.
Yeah.
I threw Jefferson out. He's not doing anything. I'm just trying to think who else is
Amon-Ra, maybe.
Amon-Ra's not. I loved him. Ratner and I talked about him we love the guy.
Yeah.
But of those 3, you think Chase will be the number 1 pick next year?
Right now you have to, because he's the best combination of skill set, the offense he plays in, and the quarterback he has. I think if you put Justin Jefferson on the Bengals and put Chase on the Vikings, Jefferson would be your top pick. I'm not saying it's like he's I mean, Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 4 on the year, which is surprising.
I would never guess that. I would never guess a Jet to be in the top 10 in any offensive category. I think they're horrible. Unless I hate to say it, I think if Chase and Burrow went away from Cincinnati, it wouldn't surprise me, just because I think they're getting sick of losing.
Maybe the Giants will give you their 1st-round pick for Burrow.
If I was Burrow, in all seriousness, I know he's an Ohio guy. I get it, but if you want to win championships, I would want to.
I don't know if the Giants are necessarily the place.
I would want to be at a different organization if you want.
But you'd have Malik Neighbors to throw to.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a real championship organization.
Who's a quarterback away from a championship team?
Honestly, do you want me to say it? I'll say it, and you'll disagree, but I'll tell you. I think if the Niners had Burrow, they would be a whole different team
instead of Brock Montana.
100%. I mean, their roster on paper is one of the best. I don't think I'm not sold on Brock Montana. I just think he's average.
What about the Bears?
Frauds.
I know Caleb Williams is doing better now, but
they're a fraud team. Everybody was so high on them. The first coach that's going to be fired is their coach. I don't know. I don't think he'll last to week 15. He'll be fired before then. What's his name?
Eberflus.
Eberflus. Thank you.
He's
not going to keep his job.
Has Doug Peterson?
Oh, he'll be second. Don't worry. He's on the list. He's on the list too. Don't worry. He'll be gone.
But what's a more attractive job though than the Bears right now? As a manager, I mean, as a coach, I mean, you come in and you have Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, and Roshan Johnson, Cole Kmet.
I mean, there's no comparison. Plus, you're in the city of Chicago, a city that loves their sporting teams and has a lot of money.
Such a rich tradition.
Yeah. I mean, you'd rather be in Chicago with all the steakhouses and all the bars. I mean, that's where I would be. I would be there. I wouldn't want to be in
So who's going to be the coach of the Bears next year?
Of who?
Who's the coach of the Bears next year?
Good question. it's so funny when people say, I want Dave Taylor fired from the Bengals. I'm like, okay, who do you want to hire? I don't know. I said, it doesn't work that way. You can't just fire a coach and have nobody in mind. Football doesn't, you got to have a coach in mind. I mean, if I was the Bears, I would go after, maybe a college coach, maybe like a Lincoln Riley, maybe somebody that
It
has
could
some,
be.
Well,
Lincoln Riley was also Caleb Williams' coach. I was actually
that's what I'm
thinking they're going to give Cliff Kingsbury another run at head coaching.
He's doing great.
Look what he's done for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders' offense as their
Yeah,
OC.
I mean, look what Harbaugh's doing for the Chargers. I mean,
Yeah.
he came straight out of college. Can never go back to college because he'll be suspended already. But look what Harbaugh's doing. I mean, he could be coach of the year. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So maybe one of these college coaches, maybe the guy, maybe the guy for Texas. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of good college coaches.
Yeah.
So, maybe the answer is not like a retread guy that's been in the NFL for years. Maybe bring somebody new in, that can always jumpstart a team too. Get somebody's
maybe Frank Reich, because he's only collecting money still from the Panthers and the Colts.
I don't think Frank Reich. I don't think he's the answer.
Maybe he needs another team to get fired from so he can collect money from them too.
It's not Frank Reich. No.
All right, Ross. Well, tonight, what's your prediction?
Pittsburgh. Even though they're not at home, I know Cleveland beat Baltimore a few weeks ago, but I don't care. Pittsburgh is on a run. They're playing great football. I'm not getting in front of that train. I see low scoring. Final score: Pittsburgh 20, Cleveland 9.
Okay, that would cover the spread and hit the under. I think the over/under on this is 39 points or 38 points. So they're the odds makers are predicting a low-scoring one.
Yeah, but what do you think? I mean, I think it's going to be a lot Najee Harris. We'll see a lot of Chubb.
See, I think I have it like if the wind's not terrible,
the wind's going. Let's say the wind's gusting, and
then I agree with you. If the weather is allowing a little more aerial attack, I could see 31-13.
No,
I still think Pittsburgh's gonna crush them, but I could see a few more points.
And I think touchdown wise, Pittsburgh will score on defense. Najee Harris will have a touchdown, and Pickens will have a pretty good game for. I think Pickens will have a big game tonight.
All right, but avoid everybody on Cleveland.
I think Chubb will have a touchdown, then that's it.
Okay, he's been
because he's on my fantasy team.
Hopefully they get to the 2-yard line or something, and he can punch one in for you.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be an ugly game. There you go.
It's gonna be, but it's still football, and it's Thursday night, so we'll watch.
And we'll be here Tuesday, even though it's Thanksgiving week. We'll do our show Tuesday because waiver wire is important, but we're not going to be here Thursday on Thanksgiving Day.
Nope, that's turkey time.
We'll be watching football.
We'll be watching
it's
football.
It's exciting, Casey. This year. Well, you always complain that Detroit is always featured on Thursday Thanksgiving, but they're featured this year, and everybody's excited about it. They're actually a team to watch.
Dallas is the one you don't want to see with Cooper Rush throwing to God knows who.
Oh, it's Cooper Rush versus your boy Tommy DeVito.
Is that the Thanksgiving game? The Giants, Cowboys?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that might be the worst Thanksgiving game ever.
You heard that first. Quote Casey on that. You'll be watching Thanksgiving.
I'm not going to be watching that one. That'll be when I take my nap. All right, Ross. Well, thank you again for sharing all the knowledge. I will see you next week.